Welcome to the 512th episode of the Jami Dulaney Plant-Based Wellness Podcast. My name is Jami Dulaney, and I'm your host. I'm a plant-based cardiologist and endurance athlete living in Southwest Florida. Welcome, and thank you for listening. Spring is in the air, it's starting to get a little bit warm down here, but we haven't got the humidity back, so we're still having nice, cool mornings to run. Good news. I am on schedule for the next event, Skunk Ape 50-mile run, April 25th. This will be a flat Florida race, kind of flat, a little bit of hills here and there because it's up northern-ish Florida. I get to run through sand for about someplace between 6 miles and 12 miles. I'm not sure if I have to go back through it just yet. So that'll be a little bit challenging, but for the most part, this race is a race that will help me determine how my pace is coming and how my speed work is paying off, because when I get to the ultimate A race, Leadville 100, there's going to be some parts where I have to run at a pretty good pace to make up for the parts that I'm walking up a mountain not so fast. So this particular race is a race to strategize and see how I'm coming. So testing out a few things, testing out shoes again. Still not happy with the blister situation as far as my toes go, so I'm going to go back to some ultras to try them. Test my ankle a little bit. It's doing well. Push it a little bit. It hasn't been pushed 50 miles yet. Again, testing out pace, nutrition, carrying a vest and water for 50 miles, and nutrition strategy when it gets a little hotter. And also a run-walk strategy. I've talked in the past, and I have members of the practice and people I run with that do a run-walk strategy. Typically in ultras, because of hills, the hills are when you walk, and it's hard to get a run-walk strategy in, and never been really true to myself when it comes to a run-walk strategy. I've sometimes bail on it or don't do it in the beginning because of traffic or whatever. But during the last race, I did set my watch for a 4-minute run and 1-minute walk, but I didn't do it. I didn't do it till the very end. And on some of my longer runs, the 1 minute, running for 4 and then walking, that transition in pace was a little difficult to kind of get your walking pace versus your running pace. You walk differently than you run. And so it was a little bit different. So the interesting thing was there was a woman right around me the whole time that was doing a 2-minute run, 1-minute walk. And she actually kept up with me and eventually passed me when I fell down and stopped to get myself together at an aid station. And so I decided to try that on our last long run. And it worked out really good. I could run fast enough for the 2 minutes to keep a good pace, and so that the 30 seconds when you're walking doesn't slow you down that much, because every time you walk, it's not just a 1-to-1 average, but you lose a fair amount of pace when you're walking. So this 2-to-1 seemed to allow to run enough of the 2 minutes, to run fast enough for the 2 minutes, but not long enough at that pace that my heart rate got up too bad. So I'm going to try that again this weekend, and that will be a strategy for the Skunk Ape as well. The idea would translate to save some energy during the run parts of Leadville, allow me to have some time to eat, maybe let my heart rate come down. So again, the reason for Skunk Ape is to run 50 miles and to test things to progress through to the next couple of races. The race following that will be Cruel Jewel, which is a race with mountains and altitude, a race with vertical but not altitude. So it's in Georgia, so there's a lot of climbing, even more than at Leadville, but not in similar pitches, similar steepness, but not the altitude. So practice technical running, practice climbing up hills, going down hills, and that's the reason for that. And then it'll be out to Colorado for a 50-miler in June to test everything out, and then recover and come back for the 100. The Skunk Ape race in April and Cruel Jewel in May are fairly close. It will also be a similar distance between the Silver Rush 50 and the Leadville 100. So my recovery efforts can also be evaluated and adjusted if need be. So that's the plan. I'm still doing my strength training. For those of you that have asked about my broad jumping, I'm still doing week 2 of the broad jump and generating my power. So all that is going well. I maybe got asked or observed several things this week in my practice. One was worry. I had people worry about things that don't even affect them, just to worry, but they were troubled by if the astronauts were going to be okay, what ifs with the world, all the way down to my brother had cancer, I'm afraid I'll get it, or my neighbor had a heart attack, I wonder if this will happen to me. A lot of things that were generated for fear of and worry about, could this be in my future? The problem with worry is it pretty much paralyzes us, because while we're worrying, we're not really doing anything. There was a story that my family liked to tell about an incident when I was growing up, where there was this seemed to be person stuck under a car near our house, and the question was if the car fell on the person, and what was my mother and I, probably 10 years old, going to do about it. And I was the go-between and was relaying what I thought was happening. Fast forward, there was nothing wrong with the man other than he had too much to drink and fell asleep under his car. But nevertheless, my mother's troubleshooting was standing in one place on the porch, jumping up and down, telling people to help us. We lived in a little town. There was very few people that were even around that would notice. I guess eventually there were people that stopped as they were driving by. My dad came home from work beforehand and was the one that sprang into action and brought the jack to find the man asleep under the car ultimately. But we always teased my mother that she just was paralyzed, standing up and down and wondering, who was going to help us. And she really wasn't doing much herself. And that's kind of how worry works, is that fear and worry can be very paralyzing, and you're not doing anything in the process other than thinking about what could happen. And it can really mess up a really good day otherwise. The person worried about the astronauts actually had a visit from her daughter that had flown in for spring break, and so, she was missing valuable, happy times talking to her daughter, worrying about the astronauts. If your neighbor has an illness, the chance of you catching a non-communicable disease just because your neighbor got it is pretty low. But if you don't do anything to make yourself healthy, then you could catch the disease, not because your neighbor caught the disease, but just because you were so much worried about catching disease, you didn't do anything to prevent your own disease. Instead of worrying about what might happen or listing all the what-ifs occur, perhaps being more proactive and doing what you could do through exercise and nutrition would go a long way to prevent some of those things. However, there are a lot of people in the plant-based community who quickly throw out the baby with the bathwater when it comes to plant-based nutrition and being preventative for lifestyle diseases such as cardiovascular disease, cancer, health, infectious disease, autoimmune diseases, when something comes awry, and kind of run for the hills and try something else. And it always amazes me why people don't have faith in their nutritional choices when, again, infectious disease start to occur or other things start to occur, and they kind of forget what they were doing to prevent their own illness, or maybe even have a game plan for what they might do. It kind of comes down to confidence in your choices. And I was posed that question this week by my mindfulness coach, about confidence, and I didn't really answer it maybe correctly or fully, or I guess I didn't give her the right answer, perhaps, because it was left for me to think about more this week. But the question is, did I have confidence in my ability to finish the Leadville 100 race? And was I confident that I could do it, or was I more, well, I guess my reason for doing it, was it to prove that a 60-something-year-old woman living in Florida could climb a mountain and run a race such as Leadville? Or was I confident in my training and ability that I could do it, and that if it weren't to happen, would it be because I was 60 living in Florida and it's impossible, or would it be secondary to factors that could be overcome in a future event? If the Leadville 100 is a one-shot deal in my mind, then how would I ultimately design or define success? I'm not entirely sure of the answer. If you know the answer, you can feel free to email me at jami@drdulaney.com. Preferably before next week, so I could give it to my instructor. But to me, confidence means that I know for sure I can do something, barring some very extraneous circumstance. But I would feel very confident in my ability to do something. It kind of comes down to it: do I believe the odds are against me or the odds are for me? And it also comes down to being willing to do something that has a lot of unknowns, with the ultimate outcome of being, I'm going to learn something from this. There will be good outcomes. I'm not sure exactly what they might be, but there will be good outcomes. So it's more about how I define success. And is success only in crossing the finish line? So how do you set yourself up for the odds being for you instead of against you? I could worry about the astronauts not making it back to Earth and a bunch of other things that kept me from my training, which would put the odds against me. I could, on the other hand, come up with a bunch of reasons why the odds are against me. Not that many people over 60 finish it. I live in Florida. It's at altitude. The weather's different. The air is thinner. I don't run on trails as much. It's technical. You have to be pretty fast. Everything has to go just right. If the weather goes to pot or other conditions may make it worse, it may be what breaks the camel's back, since I'm cutting everything so close. Those are all things that kind of put the odds against me, or certainly doesn't build any revenue in a confidence bank. On the other hand, if I start to create a confidence bank and strategize now and play it step by step, can I make my odds better? And certainly, can I look at the favorable odds, and will it serve me better than looking at the negative odds? So my ankle is much, much better. I'm stronger than I ever have been. I'm doing my weight training on a regular basis. I have done 250Ks so far this year that have went well. I've done a 50-mile race in Colorado at the Silver Rush a year ago. It's going to be a year and a half ago, and that went well. My speed is getting better with my speed work that I'm doing. I focused even more on nutrition as far as recovery goes. Focused on getting better rest, paying attention to, again, those recovery days, and stretching and mobility. I've hired a mind coach that helps me think about these positive things instead of what happens if the astronauts don't land in the water right. And I've started to test things with various races and have various races set up that progress me to the ultimate Leadville 100. So that's my strategy, and there's lots of positive things coming out from that, not to mention that I get to go to the most beautiful place in mountains that I've ever seen, take family, have a great vacation, be with friends, enjoy the fresh, clean air of Leadville, Colorado, and partake in this wonderful event. So there's things I can focus on that are really good and build up my confidence bank and continue to build up my confidence bank. Or again, I could worry about all the different things that could go wrong. Someone posted a picture on the Leadville Facebook page showing 2 wolves on the course, and they said not to add that to the noises and things you might see in the night. Besides bear, there's a couple wolves out there. So again, could worry about seeing a wolf. I have German Shepherds. They're not that much different. And it's more reason to keep the pace and keep up with the people in front of me. So I'm not left to the wolves and the bears. Some of the things that I'm doing to train for Leadville are not particularly my favorite. My speed sessions that I'm learning to tolerate and love even more when I'm done. Speed work has never been something that was my favorite. I like, going out and running a pace that you could run forever and just kind of enjoying being out there. But I got to go faster, so I have to do speed work. So 2 days a week, I'm doing speed sessions. One is shorter, one is longer. I'm huffing and puffing, so I tell myself I'm breathing like I'll breathe when I'm climbing up a mountain in Leadville. I have to get used to that. So I'm doing short sessions, again, to give myself a little memory of I'm doing things now so that later I'll get the outcome that I want. So I'm having to give in a little bit for things that I might not do otherwise. Strength training, I've been doing that in the evening, so I run in the morning and I do the strength training sessions in the evening when I come home from work after dinner. There's a lot of times when I'm not really into that. I'm tired from the speed session, I'm tired from the day. But once I get started, it's okay, and I plow through it, and I'm thankful that Nathan gives me these strength training programs that are focused on what I need to increase my power, my speed, my durability, and I don't have to think about doing that. I just have to follow the plan. So those are good things to be able to focus on. I would rather be in a chair in the evening, but these are helping me to ultimately achieve my goal. So how do I apply all that to what I see in my office? Some people have some really long-term goals: reversing heart disease, losing 100 pounds, getting back in shape after a broken bone. They're long, hard roads that require people to do things that aren't necessarily comfortable along the way to achieve their outcome. But the idea is to have a plan. Somebody told me yesterday they do not like meal planning. Well, they're not going to be very successful because if you don't have a plan and you just wing it, chances are your progress is going to be a lot slower than if you had a plan and you worked the plan. Most of us would say, I don't like regiment. I don't like to have to be on a tight schedule. I just want to go with the flow. We all say that, but the reality of it is all of us know that does not work as efficiently as having a plan and having a schedule because humans, just given the opportunity, will procrastinate and dilly-dally and not follow and then be in the same situation. So we all need a plan, we all need a schedule, and something to focus on. I was asked one of the best questions that I've been asked in such a long time today, and the questions were, how will we go about strategizing to achieve this person's goal? How will we measure the progress? What are the specific goals? How will we measure these goals? What are the expectations? And where will the accountability be? How will we define these certain things? So she wanted to put them, she had very specific outline of the plan that we're going to follow, and how we'll achieve what the ultimate goal is. And I think that's excellent, because if we just go about things and we're not looking to see how we're doing, then you can get pretty far down the road and realize it's not working. So we want to do a change and then somehow measure success. So have some accountability goal and some time slot or progress. So, the example comes back to running. If I'm going to run 50 miles and I go out and, I get a quarter mile down the road, and it's like I got a quarter mile down, I got 49.75 to go, that's very daunting. On the other hand, if I've got to run 5 miles and I get to come back to the house and get water and I'm going to go out and do 5 more miles, I can break it up. I can break it down from those 5 miles out 2.5, back 2.5. I can break the running down to run, walk, perhaps, a variety of different things to break the goals down. And so when we're looking at a long-term goal, how do we measure success? If it's cholesterol, are we seeing it come down? Weight, are we seeing it come down? Diabetes, are we seeing improvement in the hemoglobin A1C? Not waiting to normalize it, but seeing improvement in a C-reactive protein, an inflammatory marker, seeing an improvement in mobility, what you can do. And so one of the most important things to do is to track these things, not what you can't do, but what you can do. What is the progress so far, so we can follow the progress over time. Not just hope that in your next 3-month appointment, you're going to come back all fixed up. If you go out and buy $100 worth of vegetables, but then you get takeout meals, the rest and the vegetables go bad, then you really didn't accomplish much. You got to have a menu to go with the vegetables, and you have to be accountable. Did I finish all those vegetables? And, did I make the plan? Did I make the menus that I said I was going to make? Sometimes when you're just starting out in a plant-based diet, some of the things you make you like, some of the things you make you don't like, some of them turn out good, some of them are too complicated. You got to have a go-to list. Write it down. Write down the ones that work, the ones that you like, so that you have a bank, a confidence bank. You can pick from your menus. You don't have to write the whole thing down. And most dishes you don't need a recipe for. You might just need to list the ingredients of what you had. For instance, one of my favorite weeknight meals is zucchini, potato, and beans. I've said it before. It's a simple meal. I can have some chopped cabbage or a salad alongside if I want, but that's a quick, easy meal that I know I can go to, and that I almost always have those ingredients. So once you have certain meals that you can pick from, that you know how to make, it's like learning a language. You know how to ask where the bathroom is. You know how to ask where the bus station is. You can get around. You feel confident that you're going to be able to survive it. And then you can expand your repertoire as you go. If you decide you're going to run, but you haven't been walking, then you have to start out walking and strengthen those little muscles and tendons before you get running, and then adding a little bit of running into it, and progress like 10% a week. But it's not something that you just go out and do. Running's a lot different from walking. And a lot of people get frustrated because they start running and they get breathless and they say, I can't run, my knees hurt, blah, 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 and they throw in the towel too quickly. But if you have a progression and you have a plan, you have a better chance at accomplishing it. If you're constantly looking at what's wrong and not what's going right, but if you're looking at what's wrong in the world, what's wrong in your life, what's not working out, it is very energy draining. It's very easy to start stringing sentences of negativity together to paragraphs, and then it becomes a daily way of living. On the other hand, stringing positive affirmations together and what's going right now generates a lot of positive energy that will propel you to achieve those goals. I've shared on previous podcasts, Max is 5 good things for Max. It was a story of a young couple who decided to list 5 things every day they were grateful for to celebrate their son. Why not list something grateful for that you're grateful for not only a day, but perhaps every time you're worried about the astronauts not getting back, what can you be grateful for right now? People that let the future or potential things and worries get ahead of them aren't mindful what they're eating right now. They're not mindful of the exercise that they're doing right now. And the day gets away from them, and they have no idea what they ate or did. They end up reconstructing in their mind of what they thought they did and that it didn't work, and they add that to all the reasons why this particular lifestyle may not be right for them, or it's not going right, or it's not working. If you give up animal products and eating a standard American diet and you still end up with a chronic disease, will you regret it? Was there nothing good that came out of it? Because you hear that. She got cancer despite being plant-based, or so-and-so had a heart attack even though they were plant-based. It happens. Probably more reasons than it just failed, but nevertheless, it happens. People get infectious diseases and die that are plant-based. People get in car wrecks that are plant-based. But what was the positivity from it? In some instances, the cancer might have been much more aggressive, and they may not have lived as long as if they hadn't eaten a good diet. There may be outcomes such as being able to move and get around and be healthy while they were, that they wouldn't have had on a standard American diet. So you can't really go back and judge or what you missed. Would have having comfort foods and indigestion and 6 medications made you feel better than had you been on plant-based? Probably not. But you can spin it any way you really want. When I first started teaching plant-based nutrition, I didn't have much experience in it. I was plant-based, but I was healthy, so I didn't have a whole lot of experience treating people that had vascular disease or autoimmune disease. I had to rely on the reports of other people, Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. Furman, Dr. Goldhammer, Dr. McDougall, the people that came before me, but I didn't really know them. I got to know them, but I took on assumption that this actually worked. Until I got my own confidence bank built up with people that were doing well despite their chronic diseases and reversed their chronic diseases. But I had to have the confidence to stick with it and pursue it and test it to make sure everything was going okay. As a physician, someone who practices medicine, if I thought this wasn't a way to go, I also am comfortable in changing my decision. But after, a lot of years, I haven't had a reason to do that. I have faith in a plant-based diet's ability to reverse lifestyle diseases, and I have accrued a confidence bank of treating people and helping people that it's actually worked in. It doesn't mean that it works 100% of the time because there's so many variables besides nutrition in people's lives, but it works to various degrees, and there's always a positive outcome. I have not hurt one individual yet with plant-based nutrition or walking. I've had patients elect to do some alternative therapies for cancer or perhaps cardiovascular disease, and there's always a risk that it's not going to turn out, and the people, you might wonder, well, if I would have gone a traditional route, would it have been better? And I always try to explain them, they do their homework, they do their research, and you ultimately make a personal decision on your choice, and then you work your plan. And if you have confidence in your plan and you work your plan, then there's no looking back and there's no looking forward. There's just working your plan. And a positive mental attitude, positive energy, you're much more likely to have a good outcome with what you select than oscillating back and forth and wondering if you made the right decision or should choose something else in the future. It's the unknown that scares people the most, and once you have a plan and make a decision, then it takes a lot of fear out of what may be occurring. If you would like some help in working your plan, or perhaps deriving a plan, or doing research on a potential plan, or even getting rid of worry about things that aren't really a reality for you, check out our website, drdulaney.com, DOCTORDULANEY. You can email me at Jami, Jami, at drdulaney.com to set up a complimentary discussion to see if you might be fit for the program. We have a lot of online information if that's something that you would rather peruse than having consultations with the dietitian and myself. But nevertheless, check out the website and share this podcast with other people. And focus on now and forget the worry. I'm sure there's something great in your day. You just have to recognize it and celebrate it. Have a good weekend.